You wake up every morning as if nothing happened, as if the places you visited, the strange cities, the dead relatives, the animals with human eyes, were just illusions. You brush them off like dust from your pillow. You say, "It was just a dream, just a dream." But night after night, your unconscious tries again. It builds metaphors from your grief. It paints symbols from your shame. It pulls archetypes from the ancient depths of your psyche and begs you to look. And still, you don't. You were taught to trust what is rational, to believe only what can be measured. So when your soul speaks in poetry, in riddles, in myth, you dismiss it. You choose the safety of clarity over the danger of truth. And that's where the fracture begins. You split from your own meaning, because dreams are not entertainment, they are communication. And the cost of ignoring them? A life of quiet disorientation, a feeling of being lost, not in the world, but in yourself. Have you noticed it? That low hum of dissatisfaction beneath your achievements? That sense that something is missing, even when everything is fine? It's not failure, it's amnesia. Because the part of you that knows your true path, your deep instincts, your inner compass, has been speaking all along. Through symbols, through nightmares, through recurring dreams that feel eerily familiar, through strange coincidences and feelings you can't explain. But you were taught to mistrust the irrational, to suppress the mystery. So instead of listening, you built a persona. You became logical, productive, efficient, and slowly you exiled the part of you that dreams. But the dream never stopped. Now it comes back sharper, stranger, more insistent. It shows up as anxiety, as numbness, as a recurring dream you can't shake, a house with too many rooms, a staircase that never ends, a figure watching you from a distance. These are not glitches, they are messages. Your unconscious is not your enemy, it is your deepest ally, but it speaks a different language. And the lie you were taught, the one that's kept you safe and small, is that dreams are meaningless. That lie has a cost, and you've been paying it for years, in confusion, in burnout, in the haunting feeling that your life belongs to someone else. But what if your dreams were trying to return you, not to who you've become, but to who you really are? The one who remembers, the one who feels deeply, the one who still believes that symbols can save us. The cost of the lie is steep, but the truth is waiting in your sleep. And now it's time to go back and retrieve it. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. You think your life is guided by logic, by choices, by strategy, by plans. But what if your choices, the ones you call reasonable, were actually responses to something deeper? What if your preferences, your fears, your compulsions weren't conscious at all? Because here's the quiet truth. You don't live from your thoughts. You live from your symbols. And the symbols live in your dreams. Every dream you forget does not disappear. It sinks. It becomes part of the silent system that guides your every decision. The job you stay in out of fear. The relationship you can't leave, even though it no longer fits. The voice you silence every time you're about to speak your truth. These are not random behaviors. They are echoes. The dream you had of drowning as a child, it's not gone. It became your fear of emotional overwhelm. The nightmare of being chased, it became the subtle way you avoid intimacy. The dream of falling endlessly, it planted the belief that you are always one step away from collapse, no matter how stable your life seems. This is how the unconscious speaks, not through reason, but through repetition, because you were not taught how to feel your dreams. You were taught how to perform, and so the subconscious, this vast, sacred terrain, became your blind spot. You wake up, dismiss the dream, and then act out its message unconsciously. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. We are all driven by what Jung called complexes, emotionally charged clusters of memory, image, and belief. And every time one gets triggered, it hijacks your reality. You think you're making a decision, but it's your unresolved father wound making it. You think you're falling in love, but it's your inner child projecting safety. You think you're stuck in procrastination, but really, your unconscious is protecting you from being seen. Dreams are the X-rays of these hidden dynamics. They reveal what's operating beneath the surface, not to confuse you, but to liberate you. Because the dream is not random, it is a rehearsal for integration, and the subconscious is not some mystical fog. It is the root system of every thought, word, and action. Ignore it, and you walk blind. But when you listen, really listen, you begin to recognize this pattern isn't me. It's a message. And that's when you begin to wake up. Not from sleep, but from the trance of who you thought you had to be. But what if your dreams weren't just reflecting your past, but preparing you for something far greater? In the next part, we'll enter that sacred fracture, the moment when a dream doesn't just reveal a wound, but cracks open the doorway to your soul's true purpose. The dream is the answer to a question we haven't yet learned to ask. Carl Jung. You've been asking the wrong question, not what do I want, but what is already trying to move through me. That question, the real one, never comes from the conscious mind. It rises unbidden from the dark, from the dream. Because here's the truth, no one ever taught you in school. You were born with an inner compass, not a logical one, not a strategic one, a symbolic one. And that compass does not speak in words. It speaks in images. You think your dream about the flooded basement last night was weird? Jung wouldn't think so. He might tell you the basement is the unconscious, and the flood is what you're no longer able to suppress. But forget the theory. Here's what matters. Your dream is not content. It's a mirror, a warning, a rehearsal, a revelation. It is the most unedited version of you that still exists. Because when you dream, you're not negotiating, you're not pleasing, you're not editing yourself into someone digestible. You're speaking the native language of your soul. And that language isn't made of sentences, it's made of symbols. The symbol isn't there to be decoded like a puzzle. It's there to be felt. You dream of a black wolf on your bed, and you think it's random, but maybe it's the part of you that was exiled years ago, the wild self, the one who stopped apologizing, the one you buried the moment someone called you too much. That's why this matters. Not because dreams are mystical, but because they're intimate. Because they're the one place you're still telling the truth. And if you really listen, if you stop trying to interpret the dream like it's a crossword puzzle and start sitting with it like it's your oldest friend, it begins to reshape you. You stop asking, what should I do with my life? And you start asking, what wants to be lived through me? This is not philosophy, it's anatomy, psychic anatomy. And until you make contact with the dream self, not as a story, but as a presence, you will always be chasing someone else's version of meaning. So what if you stopped running? What if tonight, when that strange figure shows up again, you didn't wake up and dismiss it? What if you asked it a question? In the next part, we'll go further, not into dream theory, but into the raw human truth. Why your dreams might be the most powerful tool you've never used. You'll see what Freud missed, what Jung revealed, and how this forgotten language might just give you back your life.
If you feel a connection, hit subscribe and keep exploring with Senthora. Grateful for your support. It goes deeper than you think.
Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. Sigmund Freud. You've been asking for guidance your whole life, looking for signs, praying for clarity, trying to decide, should I stay or leave, speak or stay silent, follow the plan or break it all apart? And all along, the answers were waiting, not in a book, not in a quote, not even in your conscious mind, But in your dreams, we were told that dreams are noise, mental static, the brain's leftover electricity. But what if the opposite is true? What if dreams are the purest thing we ever touch? Freud was right in one essential way. Dreams lead directly to the unconscious. But unlike Freud, who thought dreams were mostly disguised wish fulfillment, Jung believes something more radical. That dreams are not distortions. They are instructions, not puzzles to solve, but perspectives to feel. Your unconscious is not primitive. It's poetic. It doesn't speak in steps. It speaks in symbols, not to confuse you, but to awaken something that logic never could. Let's say you dream you're being chased, the classic nightmare. You think it means you're afraid, but maybe it's something more. Maybe you're not running from something. Maybe you're running from yourself, the part of you you abandoned to stay acceptable. Or you dream of a child locked in a room. That might not be just a memory. That child could be your inner life, frozen, unprotected, waiting for your return. Dreams aren't a mirror, they're a bridge between what you know and what you forgot. They don't just reveal what hurts, they reveal what's possible. They show you the path not taken, the instinct you silenced, the door you never opened. And here's the quiet miracle. Once you begin to engage with your dreams, not interpret them like formulas, but feel them like music, something shifts. You stop asking for outside validation. Because your soul has started speaking to you again, you walk differently. Not because your life is easier, but because your life is finally yours. Dreams reconnect you with the wild intelligence inside. The part of you that's never been colonized by culture, fear, or performance. This isn't metaphor, it's access to intuition, to wholeness, to the map you were born with. And once you begin listening, the question is no longer, what should I do with my life? But how do I keep walking with the part of me that already knows? The images of the unconscious place a great responsibility upon a man. Failure to understand them, or a shirking of ethical responsibility, deprives him of his wholeness and imposes a painful fragmentariness on his life. Carl Jung. Let me tell you something that might sound familiar. A woman once shared with me a dream. She had it right after her divorce, but she didn't know it had anything to do with that at the time. In the dream, she was standing in a house she didn't recognize. It was enormous, room after room. She kept walking, but every hallway twisted into another. The windows were fogged, the lights flickered, and then she heard it, a knock, from a room at the very back. She followed it, opened the door, and there, sitting in the dark, was a version of herself. Younger, wild-eyed, holding a violin she hadn't touched in 20 years. She woke up sobbing, not because it made sense, but because it spoke. She hadn't thought of music in decades. She was a lawyer, practical, respected, efficient. But that dream broke something open, not because it gave her instructions, but because it gave her access. Not long after, she picked up a violin again. Then, she started teaching part-time, not for a career, for oxygen, because the dream wasn't telling her to quit her job. It wasn't demanding a life change. It was asking a question. What part of you still wants to live? That's how it happens. Quietly, personally, not with fanfare, but with a feeling. You don't need to analyze every dream. You need to feel which ones stay with you. They don't stay because they're weird. They stay because they're real. Because part of you recognized yourself in the symbol. And once that happens, the world can't go back to being flat. You've seen yourself from the inside. And now, everything changes. You want to understand. You've started remembering your dreams, writing them down, noticing the patterns. You're beginning to feel that quiet magnetic pull, the sense that something inside you is trying to show you the way. But now comes the hardest part. How do you understand a dream? Not with your mind, not with a dream dictionary, not by Googling, what does it mean when I dream of fire? Because a dream doesn't tell you, it moves you. And the only way to understand a symbol is to let it change your direction. Let's be clear, you will never fully solve your dreams, because the dream is not an answer, it's an encounter, a living experience designed not to be dissected, but felt from the inside. Take a simple image, a snake. To one person, it means danger. To another, transformation. To another, forbidden power. And to you? It might be none of those things, or all of them at once, because the dream isn't just showing you something universal. It's showing you something specific. You, at this moment, in this life, with this longing. So when that symbol appears, a door you're afraid to open, a child lost in the woods, a voice you cannot use, you don't ask, "What does this mean?" You ask, "What part of me have I silenced so completely that it had to appear in this dream to be heard at all?" You feel it. You sit with it. You let the image breathe through your body without rushing to tame it with language. This is the true work, not interpretation, but relationship. The symbol is not a riddle, it's a companion, and like any deep relationship, it asks for your presence more than your analysis. And here's the miracle. When you stay with a dream image, really stay, something begins to open. A feeling, a shift, a tear you didn't know you were holding back, and suddenly something clicks. You realize you've been walking through your life with someone else's map, and the dream wasn't giving you directions, it was handing you a compass. That's what the symbol is, not an answer. A direction, and when you follow it, not with certainty, but with courage, your life begins to reassemble around something real. Your instinct sharpens, your voice returns, your timing changes, and your decisions begin to come from a place so deep and ancient it feels less like choice and more like recognition. In the final part, we return home, not with new identities, but with the oldest one we forgot. And from that place, we walk forward, not dreaming of a better life, but dreaming it into being. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. You came here looking for answers, for meaning, for direction, for the thread that might explain why, even with all your effort, all your insight, all your growth, something still feels just out of reach. But now maybe you understand. The answers were never outside you. They were never linear. They were never going to be found in a list or a plan or someone else's voice. They were always in the dream, not because dreams are magical, but because they are yours. Because when the world taught you to abandon yourself, to prioritize logic, productivity, control, the dream stayed behind. It remembered, it waited, it carried the memory of who you were before you were shaped. And now you know. Your dream is not entertainment. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's a reflection, a reckoning, a key. A key to what? To your unconscious. And through that, to your calling. Not the kind you write on a resume, but the kind you recognize in your bones. Because the purpose of your life is not a career path or a role to play. It's not a singular mission written in the stars. It is the act of becoming ever more whole. And the dream shows you, night after night, which piece is still missing. That is why it matters. Not because it gives you universal answers, but because it hands you the personal questions your soul has been dying to ask. Who have I abandoned to be loved? What part of me is crying out behind that symbol? What do I know, beneath language, beneath fear, that I have not yet dared to live? There is no textbook answer to these questions. Only your life can answer them. Only your dreams can guide you back to the place where you stop trusting yourself and gently invite you to return. That is the power of the dream. It won't make your life easier, but it will make your life true. And from now on, when you wake in the morning and remember even one strange detail, one lingering image, you will know. It's not nonsense. It's not noise. It's a map, a private, sacred map from the part of you that has never stopped dreaming. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to follow it home. If this video resonated with you, please take a moment to like it and subscribe. It helps promote the channel, and I'll be deeply grateful for your support. Leave a comment too, not just for me, but so this message can reach the people who need it most. Keep listening to your dreams. They know the way home. I'll see you in the next video.